Welcome back to Unfuck Your Money, the podcast where go-getters thrive financially. Have you ever noticed that most people know what they should be doing financially? They know that they should be saving more, spending less, paying off their debt, invest, budget, and stop emotional spending. Well, so why don't they? If information was enough, we'd all have healthy saving accounts and retirement funds bursting at the seams. I don't think the problem is a lack of information. In fact, many of my clients can recite every personal finance book under the sun. Financial advice isn't necessarily wrong. However, it assumes that we are operating at full capacity. The challenge is trying to apply good financial advice while also navigating real life. Stress, uncertainty, things like illness, caregiving, grief, burnout, the rising cost of living, relationship challenges, and everyday pressures of just being human. My name is Nadz. I am a behavioral finance coach and a somatic practitioner. And over the past 7 years, I have helped clients pay off debt, reduce financial anxiety, build savings, increase their income, and create healthier financial habits and develop a calmer, more empowered relationship with money. Because financial wellness isn't just about numbers. It's about understanding the behavior behind your money so you can bridge the gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it. My hope is that every episode leaves you with a little bit more awareness, a little bit more self-compassion, and one practical step you can take towards a healthier relationship with your money and with yourself. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Unfuck Your Money. You've got a double whammy today. You've got the Glow Nadz, you've got Gloria, Zhang, and myself co-hosting this today's episode. And the intention is to talk about mother and father wounds and what they are and how they affect our relationships, how they affect our relationships to ourselves, our self-worth, and how they affect our relationship to money.
That's
And
right.
I personally don't have a lot of experience or knowledge in mother-father wounds, but my friend Gloria here, she is the encyclopedia of these things. So I'm so happy that you are back on Unfuck Your Money, and I'm so happy to connect with you regardless of the purpose. Just I was having a bit of a chaotic day, and as soon as I saw you, I was like, everything's gonna be okay. Yes, everything's fine. So you have that effect on me, Gloria?
Well, thank you, Nadine. And might I say, it's such an honor to now call you a friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. It's
And we've
awesome.
been in each other's world for a few years now, many,
Yeah,
many years, multiple
many years
years.
now. Yeah, over
And
6 years now.
yeah, over 6 years, and just really getting to know you also on a personal level. And so when you invited me back, it was like, of course, need you even ask? Always an honor, always a pleasure to be in your energy. So thank you.
Gloria also, when was it? In May? Yeah, Gloria, this May, so a couple of months
Mhm.
ago, she helped me and mentored me to revive this podcast. And it was a beautiful experience. So if you have a podcast or you want to zhuzh up your current podcast, I mean, reach out to Gloria. Are you still offering that?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, anyone
Yeah.
who's, maybe tired of the content hamster wheel and
Hmm.
really wants to share their magic and monetize a long form
Hmm.
format like podcasting. Yeah, absolutely.
What
I love
helped
it.
me, what helped
Mhm.
me, I mean, it was very helpful to kind of have expert eyes on my content and everything. But what really alleviated a lot of stress for me was I no longer feel like I have to be on Instagram all the time.
Mm.
So this is something, if this is something that you're struggling with out there, like you feel like you need to be on Instagram all the time, just working with Gloria will help you feel like you don't need to, because your podcast is it's a full bodied body of work that
Mhm.
can convey your message out there and help you, get the right clients, meaning help you help others, because that's why we're here, right?
Mhm. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for
So
that plug.
yeah, of course. So just update us. I'm going to link in all our previous episodes together, and they're always the most downloaded
Mm.
episodes in the podcast. But just give us an update on what you've been up to. I know that you had a beautiful workshop on Mother's Day, or was it? No, on Mother's Day about the mother
Yes,
wound.
about the mother wound.
How did that go? And just to give us an update about your life and
Yeah.
professionally, whatever you feel like sharing.
It's so the timing of you wanting to do this episode on mother father wounds is so synchronous, and
Of
we've
course.
talked about synchronicities before.
Hmm.
Um life, I feel like life just keeps getting more magical and magical as
Yeah,
things like that come up. Well, the workshop was phenomenal, by
I
the way.
bet.
It was very experiential.
Mm,
One of the things I've shifted a lot personally over the few years is I started off very intellectual and helping
hmm
in the way I taught,
hmm
right? And helping people mentally understand, what is the inner child, what are inner child wounds, mother father wounds. But even within myself, we've shifted a lot to experiential and actually going through the exercise and the feeling and the healing
hmm
to actually make changes and not just stay in our heads and understand them, right?
Yeah.
And my own understanding of even the way I talk about what mother and father wounds are have changed dramatically even the past couple of years. So I'm
Mm,
happy to bring some of these new updates, and
beautiful.
some of it was informed by some very personal spiritual experiences I've had with the Divine
Wow.
Mother and the Divine Father, even recently. And so I feel like this these updates aren't coming from me necessarily, but I feel like it's coming from a higher source. So yeah.
So, okay. So the thing
Mm,
is, when I had the idea of inviting you back to the podcast to talk about mother father wounds, it wasn't because I was specifically curious about my human parents, like my mother and my father.
mm,
I was in a place, like a literal place, where I felt very in touch with nature. I felt
mm,
very in touch with the love of universe, God, you know, listener, what the God of your understanding. For me, it just feels like there is this big force of love out there. And I wondered why in the past, when I would refer to it as universe with a capital U,
mm,
I understood it in my head, but I never felt it in my body. I never landed somatically for me. And then when I went and stayed in Jordan to recover for many, many, many months, see, in Jordan, in our culture, let's say you go to a doctor, right? The doctor will tell you they will diagnose you, they'll give you your medication, but there's always an element of, you know, God in the equation.
mm. Yes.
It's really beautiful there to where it's not flippant. It's not like, oh, God will heal you, but it's like, this is everything I can give you, and the rest is on God, and that was such a shift for me to hear because um leading up to that I had seen a lot of doctors here because of when I got sick, and nobody you're not going to hear that in the States, that's for sure.
Mm,
That's for sure. It could
Yep.
even be malpractice, but just in the way that people speak socially, like just yeah, things are, how are you doing, things are good, thank God, nushkur
Mm,
Allah, or alhamdulillah, or like there's always the mention of that spiritual, kind of being. It's like a presence that's always there. And when I got exposed to that, I started feeling like it might identifying that universal love,
Mm,
not as the universe, but as God, not in a religious way, but more of a spiritual father, actually made the feeling of universal love and protection and all of that stuff land finally went from my brain to my body. And
mm,
it's because of my upbringing, yes, but also it's because I forever and ever and ever lacked that fatherly love. So
mm,
by
mhm,
personifying the love of the universe into a father figure, that just felt so good for me. And that's where I started thinking about mother and father wounds, because I know people that resonate with this concept that I'm saying of the universal love, but personified as a goddess or Mother Mary or whatever, like Virgin Mary, whatever you call. Um, so it's not necessarily Christian or Catholic or religious or whatever, even though everybody has all of these things have their time and place. However, it's like how we choose to personify that universal love has a lot to do with what's been missing. Do you know what I'm
yes.
saying?
Yes. I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah. You nailed it.
So that's what made me want to talk about this stuff,
Hmm.
because we're going to talk about our relationship with our physical parents, whether they were there
Yes.
or not,
Mhm.
and how that also trickles into our relationship with the divine, universal love, etc.,
Yes.
etc.
Yes. Oh boy, this is going to be a long one.
Yes, I am excited.
Yeah.
That's why we booked a long one. So,
Yes, yes.
yeah.
And I will say to
So
everyone else, we didn't prepare that, we didn't pre-plan this in
we,
advance.
we never
I'm
do.
hearing these thoughts for the first time.
Honestly,
And
I am
it's
too.
aligned. Yeah,
I am too.
so aligned.
I'm verbalizing these thoughts out loud for the first time ever.
Mhm.
And it's usually weird for me to even say the word God out loud, because I'm scared of like people just turning off the podcast, or people, like, just it's weird, right? It's weird. It's not weird for me, but it's weird for a money podcast to be talking about these
Mhm.
things. But I feel like I want to.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I can actually start by sharing something that happened to me
of
to kind
course.
of put this into context.
Yes, go, please.
So, you know, I always wondered how I ended up falling into inner child work. I mean, I was a therapist, and then before I was studying psychology and all those things. But if I really look back on my life, it always felt like something was guiding me in a certain direction. I was
Mm,
just
mhm,
kind of kept that in
mhm,
the back of my head. And not too long ago, I was at this sort of weekend thing with a couple of friends and some people I had just met for the first time. And something very strange happened with two different people that weekend, right? So it was like an informal type of retreat, bonding type of thing, and we were doing an eye gazing experiment, right? With
mhm,
to get to know each other. And the first woman I was paired with, that was my first time meeting her. She's since become a friend. And when I don't know what happened, Nadine, but I kind of went into this connected state looking into her eyes, and she was looking into my eyes. And within a couple of minutes, she just completely broke down, like almost went into a trance. Okay. And her
mm,
eyes
mhm.
glazed over, tears pouring out. And it felt she just got like sucked into my eyes. Just right. And I was
Wow.
concerned. I held her hand. I said, "What's going on? Is everything okay?" And she told me that she got when she looked into my eyes, and we had that moment of connection, she got sucked into my eyes, and all of a sudden she found herself in this field, and there were mountains and rivers, and then she saw the Divine Mother,
Oh.
right? Appear as a grandmother and then as a mother and then like, generations of women behind her, right? Just this,
Oh.
wow, this psychedelic experience. And she said she felt healed, right? That healed something inside her. And then I talked to her, we were like, wow, what an interesting experience. We talked for quite some time. And that same day, I had a, that was the one when one thing happens one time, you kind of take a note and think, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then I got spent some time with my other friend who I knew her for a while. And then we locked eyes, and the same thing happened. Okay, she didn't know this happened with the other woman.
Okay. Wow.
Where my friend, her name's Valley. She owns this beer company in Vancouver called Plenty Brews. Very close friend of mine. She she also went into a trance, right? And then a few minutes later, I was like, "What happened?" And she told me very similar to the first woman I just met. She felt like she got sucked into my eyes, right into this like universe, and then started seeing stars, right? Like stars in the galaxy. And then as she went further, then she met the Divine Mother. And it healed something in her. So
Oof.
this happened twice, right, in the same weekend. And what I had not, something I'd kept in the back of my mind is I've been getting crazy downloads um, over the past few months, right? I'm going through some kind of my own reawakening or something, and I had this download one day when I was meditating. This was before all of this happened. I never told anybody. This was just, was I making this up? Am I just
Yeah, I know the
that
feeling.
kind of thing? And I had this thought come through, and it was just two words, and it was Mother Gloria. Mother Gloria. And this thought came into my head that the reason that I've personally never felt any desire to birth my own physical children is that other people, adults, are already like my children. Okay, so I had that thought.
Oh
This was
dear.
months
Yeah.
ago, just privately in my own meditation. I wrote it down, like, oh, that's weird. Was I making
Uh-huh.
this up? Didn't tell anybody. And then I go to this thing and I have this bizarre eye healing encounter with a woman I just met and also with another friend of mine for a few years. And that just really started to snowball a lot of, things in my life. And at this point, I really feel like part of my purpose on earth is kind of being a channel for Divine Mother in some way. Okay. And
Oof.
I've been able to uh, speak to Divine Mother, speak to Divine Father. And I never talked about any of this on my podcast for 5 years, right? It's just
Wow.
starting to come out this year. So I don't really know exactly what that means, but can't be a coincidence, right? That
No,
all of
no.
these very strange things were happening to me. But from that, I really learned that the Divine Mother is real, is more than, it's not just a concept, but she is very much alive inside all of us, and she
Mhm.
really does love us. Divine Father, too. And the easiest, most non dogmatic way I can explain this is, God, the supreme Godhead being, of course, um, is beyond gender, right? Beyond any sort of human
Mhm.
characteristics. But when that light starts to emanate downstream towards the human level of understanding, God is able to, or, God, consciousness,
Mhm.
source, whatever word
Yeah.
people want to relate to, is able to represent itself as two halves of a union, which is the
Wow.
divine
Okay.
feminine, divine masculine, and which is also portrayed through the divine feminine and divine the Divine Mother, Divine Father, exactly the way that you had described it, right? It knows us so well that it can present, God can present itself in a way that we can relate to God personally. And if you keep going downstream from there, the
Mm-hmm.
Divine Mother and Divine Father is also emanated through our biological mothers and fathers, right? So they are also divine extensions of
Mm-hmm.
this original source, right? Which
Yeah, the
is
original
up here.
source.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And now the problem, of course, is once that motherly love or fatherly love reaches the human level, it gets complex, very complicated and stuck in our parents' trauma, right? Our
Mm-hmm.
parents' poverty, illness, mental state, which doesn't allow the full capacity of that love to come through, right? It gets distorted in a human way. And that, of course, ends up causing all sorts of problems and childhood trauma, things like that. But it means that we can actually connect directly to the source itself
Yeah.
and not have to rely only on the biological parent as that source of motherly and fatherly love. So that's the first time I've told that story publicly.
And this is the
So
first
you got
time
the
I am actually speechless right now.
really? Oh my gosh. Well, you got the scoop. Yeah, I haven't even shared it on my own podcast yet. So I guess it was meant to be.
Like if you're listening to this, my mouth is open. I'm like just sitting here with my mouth open.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I wasn't
Okay.
even planning to bring this up today.
No, but the
It's
thing
just
is, Gloria, is that this is not the first time that we've received synchronized downloads.
mm,
I think it was a while ago where we both came to a conclusion about something. We hopped on a podcast. It was your podcast, I think, to talk about it. We've, I feel like, yeah, there's a lot of synchronicity,
yeah.
which is absolutely beautiful and it's awesome. Oh, wow. So, oof. Where do we go from here? Let me put my my
Anywhere you
my
want.
my my host hat on. 1 second. I think I need an apron, not just a hat. Oh
Yep.
dear.
Yep.
I could just imagine what it would be like to hang out for together for a weekend.
I still want to come visit you. Yeah.
I think it
I
would be
really want to go to New
wild.
Mexico. Yeah.
I think this is a good place for you to come hang out.
hmm
I do feel a little bit more open here than anywhere else in the world. I've lived all over the place, and in Jordan, I feel like it's a good place to heal ancestral shit.
hmm
In Australia, it's a good place for me to just fuck off and have fun. My inner teen thrives in Australia, but somehow, somewhere, anywhere in New Mexico, whether it's Albuquerque, but mostly towards the south, towards White Sands, the Oregon Mountains, that's when my channel actually opens. As someone that has lived all over the world, I have always thought, what is the best place for me?
Mm,
Like, am I in the right place? Am I in the right place? And it was only recently that I concluded that every geographic location activates
mm,
certain things in you and heals certain things in you.
mhm,
So there's really never the right place. It's just that you put yourself in a location you feel curious about or excited about because your soul or you're destined to be there to
mhm,
receive something or heal something or meet someone that would open something. It's all in the spirit of growth, which
mhm.
leads to the spirit of service.
I feel the same way about Vancouver. And
Mm,
I really do feel a calling to New Mexico. I feel like it's going to
mm-hmm,
happen sometime
mm-hmm.
soon. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
I'm
it's going to
very
happen.
excited for that to happen.
You might get sucked into my eyes though. Don't No promises
I
on
can't
that.
wait to get sucked into your eyes. I mean, I want to get sucked into your eyes now and see what happens with it. It won't be fun for anybody else listening. It's like, what are they doing?
Maybe if you know in advance, it'll be easier. I'm just kidding.
I mean, we can do a get sucked into Gloria's eyes retreat.
Gosh.
Go get sucked into Gloria's eyes.
That's so funny.
Oh my
Ah,
God. I really have fun with you. So,
yeah, me
um, uh,
too.
yeah, I'm getting
Mhm.
playful. So, mother father wound. I mean, how would you explain it to someone that knows nothing about them?
Mm. Well, sometimes even hearing the word mother father wound, when someone truly feels there's some baggage
Mm,
around mother father, even those words tend to bring up a little bit of emotion, right? Or they bring up something,
mm-hmm,
kind of activates something. Sometimes people start laughing, right? Or they get really uncomfortable. And it's really just pointing out that there's something that hasn't been 100% resolved from childhood.
mm-hmm,
So I know we started with the big picture story
mm-hmm,
of, right,
mm-hmm,
that spiritual aspect. Um, and that still applies to the day to day,
mm-hmm,
because
mm-hmm.
whether you've worked on it or not, or thought about it or not, the way that you were raised still affects you today.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
everything about us, the typical, um, the developmental psychology, they always refer to 7 and 8 years old being around the time that our personalities really start to cement.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, we're very much like a sponge. And
Mm,
that continues throughout our lives, of course. But those first 7 to 8 years, especially, that's when you were orienting yourself to the world, right? That's when you're learning from the first relationships that you have with another human being on earth is, for
mm-hmm.
most people, the mother, father, could be caregiver, aunt, uncle, whatever. But that experience that you have with the masculine, the feminine, is very early on. And if you had needs that didn't go met, they tend to show up later in your romantic relationships and friendships with other people, and in everything, right?
And
In
everything,
all
especially money.
relationships. Yeah, and with money.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with money.
especially with money.
So let's start with the mother wound, since typically, that's what most people would, that's the first attachment, like
Yes.
let's say in a typical circumstance. What would, I don't know if even this is the right way of asking it, but what would trigger,
Mm.
create a mother wound, and what does that look like in adulthood?
Mm. So one of the most, well, there's many
I
common
believe
mother
so, yeah,
wounds,
I would
but
imagine.
just to give a few examples, and anyone listening might relate to some of these. Um, the overbearing mother, right? Very over
Mm,
controlling mother is a common one. So a mother who really projects all of her anxiety and insecurity onto the child,
mhm.
right? And out of, sometimes it is out of their version of love, but
Yeah.
the child really bears the brunt of that. We can have a neglectful mother, right, who did not provide the mothering. So, resented you, maybe didn't want to be a mother, wasn't ready to be a mother,
Mhm.
was exhausted dealing with her own issues, maybe couldn't provide financially, couldn't provide emotionally, maybe
Mm.
just had, the smile that never quite reached the eyes,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Sent you off to school, but didn't stay to watch watch you go, right? And didn't wave at you, just dropped you off and turned around and left.
Yeah.
You know, these micro actions that register as us being wanted or us being
Mm.
cared for and desired. So those are some ways that mother wounds can show up. Now, I hear you say this all the time that you see how someone does one thing and you can
Yeah.
see how they money.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
one can easily imagine that a controlling mother might have a similar relationship with her finances.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so, and you also witness how this mother is constantly, stressed over bills or can't seem to get out of the poverty cycle, right?
Hmm.
Paycheck to paycheck,
Yeah.
turn off the lights, don't
Yeah.
waste electricity. Oh, we can only drink water at restaurants, don't waste this, don't, it's this constant feeling of lack that can
Mm.
show up in your childhood, and that's what you absorb and
Yeah.
internalize as normal. And the
Hmm.
same could go the other way. Maybe you had a mother who maybe had a shopping addiction
Hmm.
and was always giving it away, right? So all of these patterns can show up and really mirror the parenting style that you experienced.
What if you had a very selfless mother?
Oh yeah, that's a tricky one, right?
Hmm.
Because then your child usually also learns to become self-sacrificing,
Hi,
right?
everyone. Hello,
That's a
I
tough
see
one. Yep,
you.
it's that, that it's embedded in so many cultures I
Yeah.
found over the years because we almost worship, right? And we revere this, oh, so giving, so
So giving.
selfless. You'll
Yeah.
give up, sacrifice your own life, your own career, everything for the child. And the sad part is it is coming from love, right? And maybe those things did happen, but usually the child comes out the same, right? Comes out being the over accommodating one, um,
Overachieving,
overachieving.
go-getter, even if it's on
Yep, yeah, putting
your
themselves
own
last.
demise. Yeah. So from the way we were raised, my dad didn't want my mom to work. He just
Mm,
didn't. I think he felt threatened. They're both engineers, and she's an architect, he's a civil engineer. And I feel like he wanted her to be more of a traditional stay-at-home mom. I mean, big mistake. Like, my mom is very
mm,
ambitious, she's very creative. Um, and luckily, that ambition and creativity trickled down to us. Like, we're very creative offsprings.
mhm,
I mean, me and my siblings are all very, very creative, but also very selfless. Because I don't know. I mean, I can't ask her because she's not sitting here with us, but I would love
mm,
to ask her one day, like, was she selfless? I'm sure that there was a lot of selflessness that came from the Arabic culture that we grew up in,
mm,
but also was there guilt that she wanted to work and take care of us?
mm,
Because back then, it was affordable for them to have a nanny for us.
mhm,
So did she feel guilty because she wanted to work and we were taken
mm,
care of by the nanny? Or I don't know. Like, it's a very good question to ask, and I always encourage my clients and my listeners, like, if you have a good relationship with your parent and they're still around, ask them the questions that you're curious about, but don't ask them in a blamey way. Like,
mhm,
just adult to adult. It's Now is the time for you to, I don't know, like, ask about your birth story. Like, how did
yeah,
you come to this world? How was she feeling? What was it like? Because that can reveal a lot
mhm.
about yourself. But putting that aside,
Yes, well said.
yeah,
Mhm,
back to money. It's also, I remember whenever we bought her a gift or a Mother's Day gift, she would return the gift and buy things for us.
oh,
Yeah, right. It's really sweet.
mm,
That is one factor why there's another factor, because we're going to
Mm,
get to the father wound later.
yeah.
There's one of the factors why I feel extreme guilt and like I'm doing something wrong
Mm,
when I would buy something for myself. Like if Arby or my husband wants something
mm,
and they're like, okay, can you put an order for that or can you get that for me or whatever? I'm like, yeah,
mm,
sure. But when it comes to me wanting something, like if it's something for
mm,
me
mhm,
that I will only use, that is not a necessity. It's like I don't know, I want flax seeds and chia seeds. You know what I mean? Like it's something for me
yeah.
that Tommy would never touch. I would and and ask myself a million questions and think about it. And do I need it? And do I not need it? What could I use instead of it? Da, 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 da. It's
Mm,
decision fatigue. And when you're already operating at a capacity as a caregiver, as a go-getter, as a high achiever, and you add on this decision fatigue, it
mhm.
gets really
Yeah,
tiring,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. And that kind of sounds like a maybe receiving wound, right? That you were
Definitely.
describing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that, you can see how perfectly maps onto money wounds because,
Mm-hmm.
well, when people, I'm sure many of your clients who they feel uncomfortable
Receiving.
receiving, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they sort of, maybe play hot potato and they want to pass it on to something else. Well, no wonder you can't keep money in the bank account, right? No wonder you're having a hard time maybe keeping some of that for yourself, right? Or thinking um in terms of investments and long term.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very sneaky how all of those things can go way, way, way back to our childhood.
And even before that,
Yeah, yeah,
they're my
even before
parents'
that.
childhoods and all
Hmm.
that stuff that we've talked about before. But how does it affect our relationships, having that mother wound?
Mm,
What does it look like to have a mother wound? Like just a generic, non-specific way. Like how
yeah.
would you tell that somebody has a mother wound?
So usually goes one of two ways. These
Mhm.
are just the two most
Yeah,
common,
the most
right?
common ones. Yeah.
So one is the uh, fear of being controlled by women, right? Or it manifests a lot with authority figures, right? Or feeling very, very triggered or combative with women and being told what to do, and that comes from a
Mm,
controlling kind of mother. Or another one that's very common is really longing that nurturing motherly type of love from
mhm,
somebody.
mhm,
So it could be through relationship, right? Like really desiring that motherly, soft kind of love, or even seeking it in older women,
mhm,
right? Could be a boss, could be a neighbor or a friend. Just one thing that people describe is that it feels like there's some kind of, like a hole in their heart, like some
mhm,
kind of a certain type of love that they are yearning or desiring to experience that they didn't quite get that fully met from their actual mother
mm,
or
mhm,
father. And it's starting to emerge through these other relationships, right? And it's really revealing
mm.
that they're craving. I call it dark mother, the dark side of the mother and the light side of the mother.
I
And
see.
yeah, we can crave those. Hmm.
So interesting. So I have a lot of really, really close friends that are men and women that are much older than me. And my mom always says, it's because you miss me. But I do miss her because I haven't
Yeah.
lived in the same country as her for over 20 years now. And we are very close. But I do feel like, when I was in Melbourne, I got very close with my boss, Tatiana, and I was very close to two women that I don't think of them as my mothers. I think of
Mhm.
them as older sisters. I've never
Yeah,
had an
older
older
sisters.
sister.
Yeah.
I don't feel like this is coming from a wounding though. I
Hmm.
feel like I really I don't think of them as elders either. I just feel
Mm,
like they're older and more experienced than me, and I'm more comfortable around them,
yeah.
and I can talk to them about real things. Not that I don't
Mhm,
talk about real things with people my age or younger, but there's a different kind of understanding that I get from
mhm.
them.
Yeah. Yeah, so the older sister archetype is another emanation of the divine feminine, right?
Oh,
Yeah, and
okay.
I am also an older sister to my younger sister, and it's
Uh-huh.
funny because she often refers to me as her second mom. So there's
Yeah.
definitely a bit of overlap there, which is it's great in your case because you've actually found the soothing balm to maybe there was a
Mm,
wound, but because
mm,
you found these safe, almost I would say sources of this divine, nurturing, feminine love. Well, it soothes
mm,
that wound, right? And it feels
mm.
good to be around them. So that's a form of healing, right? Through these
Mm.
relationships. Now, if they triggered you, right, if they made you feel not taken care of, not heard, then it might activate some kind of wound there. But
Ah,
yeah, I think you've
okay.
healed that.
I do feel that. I'm gonna shout out my friend Fiona. Fiona, you're my divine sister.
Yes.
That's
Hi,
amazing
Fiona.
because Fiona's lovely. Like she's very nurturing. She's very sweet. She lives in Melbourne though, which is far away. And even the way that she cares and even the gifts that she gifts me are very nurturing, like hand cream
Mm,
and like
mm,
soap and like things that make me feel like I'm flying,
mhm.
like I'm
Yeah,
light, you know?
like
And
sensory.
yeah,
Hmm.
sensory and like things that smell good. Like when we walk by a lavender plant, we always say, "Hi, Fiona," to the lavender plant. That's what
That's
she
so
feels like
lovely.
to us.
Yeah.
And that's so nice that to know that it's kind of a like a nice soothing balm.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I wonder what what archetype I am for them as like
Mm,
20 years younger. It's really cool.
mm.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe a younger sister archetype.
maybe,
Yeah,
the
that's
fun,
how I
crazy
feel
one.
towards my, yeah, that too.
The fun,
Yeah.
crazy one that always comes with crazy stories. Um, so it's funny that your sister refers to you as her
Second
second
mom.
mother, because when my brother quote unquote misbehaves or does something,
Hmm.
my mom calls me and says, "Look at what your son did," like. And I was telling my dad the other day how to my siblings, because they're younger than me, they I don't think they think of me as a sister. I think they think of me as a third parent,
Mm.
and I have been 100% out of the
Mm-hmm.
question. I am a parentified child.
Mm-hmm.
And how what does a parentified child mean from your,
Mm-hmm.
therapist, psychologist, or Gloria perspective?
Yeah.
And how does that affect our relationships, including the one with
Mhm.
money?
Absolutely. So this, the so just for anyone who maybe doesn't know the word parentified child is, really the Western definition that Western psychology is a child who, in a way, had to grow up too quickly and kind of take on the burden or share the role of being a parent when
Mm-hmm.
they themselves were a child,
Yeah.
right? So, culturally speaking, it's a little bit different in different cultures who they have really big families
Mm-hmm.
and like between me and my sister we have almost a decade of age gap,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So in some there are some ways where I was definitely parentified, but then at the same time I've always had those qualities in me. And
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
had I was like a teenager when she was still a child, right? So
Yeah.
some of that did come naturally for me. But for other kids, uh, totally different story, right? That they were almost scapegoated
Yeah.
when the parent didn't feel like they were capable of being parents, and then how easy it is to divert that responsibility onto an older child,
Mm.
right? And what you get is well, not only does that child kind of start acting like a grown up, but they miss a big chunk of their own parenting, right? That
Yeah.
they're still a kid themselves, and now they have to end their childhood and start thinking like an adult and taking on adult responsibilities. It can really mess people up,
Yeah.
right? Emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you want to apply that to money wounds, right? Well, that sense of response, or maybe even over
Oh.
responsibility, can carry over into feeling like we have to control money or take charge
Mm.
of money, not letting ourselves
Enjoy it.
receive or, yeah, enjoy the
Yeah.
money,
That's me
right?
as well.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel guilty enjoying money. You know what else? Now that you said that, it kind of makes me reflect on how so money decisions that are over a certain amount are me and my husband's decision. So
Mm,
it's not just me. But when and if things go wrong, like let's say we bought
mm,
something and it was shit, or I don't know, we used the money in a way that didn't pan out in the way that we
mm,
expected or
mm,
hoped for it to be. I blame myself. I
mm,
fucked up. I did something wrong.
mm,
And ever so often, Tommy has to tell me it was our decision.
mm, mm,
But I don't see it as that. Like, if the venture was successful, we did
mm,
great. We did great. If it's not, I fucked up.
See, yeah, there it is.
Yeah. So that's really interesting because I would take blame for when things go wrong, but I wouldn't
Mm,
take credit when
yeah,
things go right.
like a parent,
Like a
right?
parent, exactly like a
Yeah.
parent.
Hmm.
That's very interesting. So, what if you had to be your parents' therapist as a teenager?
Well, in some ways is even harder than the
Mm,
parentification,
hmm.
because I mean, you just got here, right? Like, what
How do you
words of
know?
wisdom
Yeah.
are you gonna tell your parents that are, triple your age,
Yeah.
right? And so, that the main thing, if a parent starts relying on their child, as almost like a substitute spouse sometimes, it can
Yes.
get very emotionally uh incestuous in a way. That that parent is reliving their inner child wounds,
Mm,
right? And they're looking for parenting and validation, and then they're projecting it onto the child, the
yeah.
closest person to them. And you think about the level of self-awareness it requires to realize, oh my God, I'm doing this to my child. It's,
I don't think they have that awareness. I don't
yeah,
think,
usually not.
usually not,
Yeah.
right? It feels
Mhm.
like, oh my God, my child is my best friend, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. But I had to grow up very quickly in many,
Mm.
many ways. Like, I had to help a lot with my
Yeah.
siblings, but I also had to take on
Mm.
a lot of emotional, heavy emotional things just so
Yeah.
that I can feel like I'm supporting my mom. Like
Mm.
she was alone and she literally didn't have anybody else,
Mm.
you know? And it felt like I wanted to and I had to kind of support her. And it's a joke, but it's not really funny. But my mom always says, I am your first coaching client because you helped
Mm.
me leave the abusive relationship with your
Mm.
dad. Like I wouldn't have been able to do it without you. I was 18, 17,
Mm.
18, 19. Like it was around that time. And I was like, how much fun was that for me? It was so fun.
Yeah. See that, and I'm so sorry. I mean, it's the whole situation sounded very complicated to begin
It
with, right?
was.
And then, you just happen to be born into that. And that's the thing, is these parents who, rely way too much on their kids. They tend to say things like, "Oh, my child is wise beyond their years. They're so mature for their age without realizing, oh, gee, I wonder how they got like that. Well, it's usually because of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's they've relied and put so much unknowingly pressure that the child had no choice but to mature quickly and grow wise, but they're still a child.
Still a
Even
child.
17, 18 years old is still so young.
I
You
know.
can be best friends with your adult child, right? That's a whole different story,
Yeah,
but
that's a different story. It's a different
yeah,
dynamic. But
yeah.
I think on the positive side to that is that, I'm 45 now, but I have clients that are older than me.
Mhm.
And oftentimes I think like, oh my God, I'm younger than them. Why are they
Mm.
listening to like how are like it's weird. But to think about what I had to do as a child, it
Mm.
actually makes sense. It kind
Yeah.
of qualified me to put on, not put on, but have that other kind of wisdom that is
Mhm.
mixed in with youth and fun that makes me a good support person for people that are older than me. And it
Mhm.
works out. Like it's really beautiful,
Yeah.
it's always an
I'm
honor.
the same way.
Yeah, it's amazing,
Hmm.
right? And you kind of have, I don't know, it's nice. So
Yeah,
there's always a silver lining to
of
shit.
course. Yeah. It's tricky to talk. I know exactly what you mean. And sometimes if I phrase this certain way, people do get upset, right? Because of course, we're not, I understand, Nadine, and we're not saying to glorify the trauma you've been through. But when you do work through your trauma,
Yeah.
and if you are someone who, faces it and allows it to help grow you, yeah, you
Hmm.
can get superpowers from it.
You do, right? It's true. It's not a
Mhm.
glorifying. It's kind of holding.
Yeah.
Yesterday I had a somatic experiencing session with my, you have to do your own kind of sessions
Mhm.
to get the certification, and I had my own session yesterday. And that practitioner said something to me that was just so simple but so profound, is that we were referring to the trauma of me getting sick last year.
Mm,
And she says, we hold everything. We hold
mm,
the shitty part of it, and the vagueness and the ambiguity of it, and we hold the growth and the beautiful things that came from it.
mhm,
Because of that happened to me, I started embroidery. I started
mm,
embroidery to strengthen my fingers after the nerve damage that happened to my fingers.
mm,
And I didn't want to do more occupational therapy. And I was like, I'm just going to do something creative with it. And embroidery is perfect because it's like teeny
mhm.
tiny little things, and it really helps with fine motor skills. And I was saying how I love embroidery, but that love is always tainted because it came from trauma, it came from an illness.
Oh, I see.
And that's
Mm,
when she was saying you hold the experience, the entirety of the experience, the really scary
mm,
bits that you have to work through, but also the
yeah.
gifts and the growth and and even the bits that you will never kind of resolve or understand.
Mm, mhm.
Things
Yeah.
that things that you'll never understand. Like a lot of our trauma, we try to understand why it happened, what happened, how it affected me, but there's a lot of it that you cannot grasp.
Mm,
You kind of have to accept and stop kind of going to down the rabbit hole of blaming, shaming, and trying to heal it. It
mm.
just is.
Very, very well said. It, and this life, there's all, unfortunately or fortunately, you could look at it either way. There's always going to be hard things that happen, right?
Yeah,
People passing away, illness, the
yeah,
world changing. It really is part of life, and it's the seasons, right? Going through the cycles of birth and rebirth.
yeah,
And I mean, we could get really deep on this, or we could just simply say that that's those are part of the lessons of life and how we grow. And
It
I think
is.
you
Yeah.
taking what happened to you last year and turning it into art is is incredible, Nadine.
Well, I have to say that there were some months where I didn't even know if I had the energy to keep going.
Mm,
It happened so suddenly and so scarily, and I mean, it doesn't make sense. How do you get paralyzed from food poisoning? Like,
mm,
what the fuck is like how on earth can this happen? And then only to get diagnosed after you start recovering. And then
mm.
the same body that fucked up is the same body that recovers. Like it was such a mind fuck to where I I couldn't keep going because I lost trust in myself. I lost trust in my
Mm,
body. I lost trust in the world.
mm,
It really like it messed me up, and to kind of rise up from that, I needed my parents. And lucky I was able to fly there, stay there for a while because my work is remote. Arby was well, so she didn't need the care and attention she needs now. And of course, the medical system in Jordan is unfortunately better than the US.
mm,
But it felt like I needed my parents to resurrect me.
mm,
You
mhm,
know, like it was kind of like I always thought of it as this is their chance to right their wrongs
mm,
by
mhm,
being here for me when I needed care the most. It didn't feel like I needed care. Like could not I could not turn the light on. My fingers were so weak that I could not do things for myself. Like
mm.
I couldn't open the fridge. It was I really needed care, and it was a very vulnerable
Mhm.
state.
Yeah,
And Tommy was happy to help, but it just felt like
yeah,
this is where my parents
yeah,
need to step in right now. And it was weird because me and my dad, we haven't spoken in 10 years before this. And as soon as I
mhm,
called him, he was there and he never asked
mhm,
questions. And he really stood by me. I had severe anxiety, especially in the period where my body wasn't working and no one was giving me answers to what was
mhm,
happening. I would go to ERs, no one was giving me answers. And I could not be alone for a second, one
mhm,
second. Like, when Tommy goes to work and I'm alone for a minute, I would get panic attacks,
mm,
and like I could not move suddenly. And no one gave me the answers. Like no one told me why, or no one told me that it's going to go away and I'm going to get better. And or no one told me that this is it. You know,
mm,
like I didn't know. I didn't know what was wrong with me, and the future was uncertain. I was so scared, and I couldn't be alone. And my dad was there.
mm,
My dad was there with me 8 hours a day on the phone, on FaceTime, until he said, "Why don't you just come here?" And I was like, "I think I'm regaining mobility to where I can sit on a plane."
mhm,
So that's, where I recovered and got rehab. But it wasn't just the physical therapy that helped me regain. It was the um the love that I craved and never received, the attention
yes,
that I
yes.
craved and never received, that actually healed me. But at the same time, it was sad because I only received it when I was really sick.
Mm, mm,
You know, there was a
mhm.
lot. There was a lot there.
Oh, oh, my love, you did so well. You did so well. Okay, I can't imagine what that was like. You know, in a body that's not working. And you know me, I also don't believe in coincidences.
Yeah, I know.
And
Me neither.
because of what I know of you and what you had gone through growing up, isn't it interesting,
Yeah.
right? That this situation, it happened and then when you got the closure, a little some of it that you needed, and
Mm,
then it started clearing up and you're on your way to a full recovery, to me is a miracle.
it is a
Like
miracle.
what you went
Oh,
through was a
100%. It's a
miracle.
miracle. I have no doubt that it was a miracle. Like, it's definitely a miracle. Everything that transpired from
Mm,
the repair, because I not only repaired my relationship with my parents, um, so you know how I was saying earlier, it always felt like I was my mother's mother.
mm,
During this, she was my parent.
she
And
was.
during this, my dad was there for me. But not only this, growing up in Jordan always felt unsafe for me, and I always avoided calling Jordan home.
Mm,
And because I never felt accepted there, I never felt there was always some kind of cultural societal expectation that I didn't want to meet. You know, the traditional way of life, whatever it is, I always felt like not very at home there. And I when I went to Australia when I was 23 on my own, that felt more like home. And that always left a a void, a hole in me, a hole of belonging, a hole of being accepted. And I always think of countries as a divine mother as well.
mm-hmm. Yes.
And going to Australia and getting accepted there gave me a taste of what it should feel like just to be myself. And that is why my inner teen is very happy there. But it always felt like my inner child never felt home, the feeling of home.
Mm, mm-hmm.
And to be forced to stay in Jordan because that's where my neurologist was and physical therapist and my parents, and you know I needed care, etc., etc. To be forced to stay in Jordan for 3 months and then another 3 months kind of healed another thing in me that was more of a motherland wound.
Mm, mm-hmm. Yes.
And that was a really big part of my feeling of worth and accepting myself. And I finally felt like like I always said that, but you know, I finally feel like I'm three-dimensional as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
two-dimensional. I
Mm-hmm.
always felt like there was a dimension that felt hollow, but it kind of got patched up.
I I I had a very similar experience when my dad almost passed away from cancer.
Mm,
So I was really feeling for you, Nadine. He I was basically estranged from him,
mm.
as well, and then he was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. The biopsy came back, and
Jesus.
it was like we thought we were preparing for end of life, right, when that happened, and then it changed him. I mean, he's still my dad, but
Yeah, I
he
know the feeling.
changed a lot. He
Hmm.
really just emotionally, he started doing like Zumba dancing and
You
oil
mentioned that in
paint,
your book. Yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, who is this man? I
Yeah.
was, and then when the surgery went well and he made a miraculous full recovery. It's just,
Miracle. Yeah.
and I'm not trying to imply to everyone that all of your issues disappear, right, when you resolve these things, but sometimes when you have a deeper knowing that maybe there's more to this than just a material, physical
Physical.
illness, right? Maybe
Yeah.
there's a saying that when we really need to do something that's important, first God throws a pebble, then he
Hmm.
throws a rock, and then he throws a boulder, right? But
Yeah.
just enough to really force us to make that change,
It's
right?
true. It's true. I went when I was sick, I went inwards and I'm like, I just want to know why."
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
answer that came through was weird. It wasn't weird. It makes sense. It was you had to forge your life based on hate, and now you need to be broken down and rebuild yourself from love.
Wow.
Because
There it
my
is.
entire life I was moving around and going to Australia, going to France, going here, going there. But it
Yeah.
was all based on I'm running away from my father. I hate my father. I hate Jordan. I hate, I
Mm,
hate, I hate, I hate. You know, I'm running away from something. And it was all based on I used to tell my father, I used to tell him, my hate for you is making me stronger and making me a stronger person. Like, imagine,
Wow.
I used to say
Wow.
that to him. And it
Mhm.
just felt like I needed to be broken down and rebuilt with love.
Wow.
And it needed to be in Jordan because I also reconnected with my aunts and my
Mhm.
aunties and all the Zahmut family that made me feel like, oh, I actually have a lot of support that I never recognized because of my father wounds, which we
Mhm.
should
Mhm.
probably talk about. Let's talk about father
Incredible.
wounds, just, like, yeah, just briefly intertwined with the
Yeah.
stories.
You sharing that story, I think, did most of the teaching already. Like that is, that you are such a remarkable person.
Thank
Um,
you. So are you.
you were, but you were faced with, difficult is an understatement. Such a dramatic, life-altering circumstance, and
Yeah.
and to face that with so much uncertainty, and still choose to face your fear head on, and still choose to turn towards love and healing. But I cannot emphasize this is remarkable, right? And such an example. I really hope your listeners understand how difficult, because
It was difficult. It was very
yeah,
difficult.
so hard. I mean, choosing healing on a regular day is hard enough, but when you're in that level of vulnerability and you listened to what that deeper message might be, right? What is this deeper meaning?
Yeah.
Maybe the world is more than just three-dimensional materialism. There's something here that God is, you know, taking my face and forcing me to look at something.
Yeah.
And then you listened is absolutely remarkable. And I believe, I know you've had a lot of wonderful medical help, but I also do believe you chose a different timeline. I feel like
Yeah.
you chose a you chose a whole different reality for you. Um, just I'm so proud of you.
Thank
Just
you. Thank you,
remarkable.
Gloria. I don't have a voice.
It's okay.
Very emotional.
Yeah.
I
It's,
think by forgiving my father, I uh, I did jump timelines because my siblings ask me, like, how do you even speak to him after
mm,
everything? And it's hard for me to explain that the first thing that had to happen is I had to feel that he is supporting me, because it always and forever felt like he was the obstacle in life.
mhm.
Whatever we
Yes.
wanted to do as kids, he's the obstacle. Like, oh, I really want to do this. Oh no, but my dad's gonna say no. Oh my God, I should do this, but I need to make sure he
Mm,
doesn't know. He's
mm,
always been the naysayer, the obstacle, the killer of fun, the
mm,
killer of
mm,
joy. But for once in my entire life, he stood by me,
mm.
and that needed to happen first. And the freedom that I feel from forgiving him is, it freed me up a lot. It freed me up to love more. It increased my container for love. It increased my container of boundaries as well. It's a weird thing of like, you fucked up, you fucked me up, but I'm still going to choose love, not
Wow.
fear.
Wow.
Some days it's harder than others.
Mhm,
Some days I need a break. Sometimes I can't talk to him every day,
mm,
and I give myself that break. I feel guilty, but I do. But it's been a very freeing experience, because I don't think we forgive our parents for just them. We
mm.
forgive them for us. Because if
Yes.
you can love someone unconditionally and forgive them, that actually makes it much easier for you to love yourself unconditionally and
Mhm.
forgive yourself.
That's right. Spot on. I have no extra notes. because you've just lived it, right? You've experienced it, and you've said it so beautifully. I know forgiveness is a difficult topic in the
Difficult.
trauma world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if if I'm to be honest, I do see when I think about the oneness of everything, that's just going back to
Yeah.
the spiritual context. I see everything as spiritual, and ultimately, ultimately, I think humanity does work towards forgiveness in order to merge with the
Yeah.
oneness. But it may not happen to each individual in that particular lifetime, depending on the extent of the trauma and what they've been through.
Yeah.
But maybe if you believe in multiple lives, right? Maybe in
Yeah.
the next life um, they can get a little bit closer. But your father is part of the divine too. If we're
Yeah.
all divine, right? If
Yeah.
the divinity is within all of us, it's also within him.
It's kind of hard to see. I gotta search.
Yes.
But you know what? When I sometimes relay conversations that I have with my dad to my brother or my mom, even, they're like, huh? He said that
Yeah.
to you? Or what? Like, do you talk about these things with him? And it feels like because I namaste him, because I see
Yes.
the
Yeah.
divine in him comes out more.
Yes. I'm
I
going to say
bring it
something
out
very
of him.
controversial.
Yeah.
I think that we, depending on our level of consciousness and where we're at, I think everyone actually experiences different versions of other people.
That's very true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to an extent, of course. So I've had, I know exactly what you're talking about because as I've grown in my journey, I've sometimes had very contradictory experiences with certain people compared to others.
Hmm.
Like I'll have someone say, "Oh, this person was like really rude to me," and I'd be so shocked. Like, really?
Yeah.
I'll press them for my answer. Like, what do you mean? Like, oh, they cut me off in conversation and they did this, and I'm like, whoa, like I've known this person for like 3 years. I've never had that experience of them, and not to invalid. That
You're not
really did
invalidating.
happen,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
right?
it's
Yeah.
we bring out different aspects of
Yes.
people, like
Yeah.
even if people were to listen to my interviews with others, I don't some people bring out other things in me, and
Mm.
you bring out playfulness in me and also really deep,
Yeah.
profound, really deep, like I go in, and
Hmm.
it's how a person makes you feel, how safe you are, how they accept you. And when I started feeling accepted by my dad, because he started asking about Tommy, he started asking about Arby, he started wanting to see our house. Like he
Mm.
started, like, just for context, I told him that I was married, what, 7 years after I was married? Like he knew obviously from hearing from my siblings,
Yeah.
but it was news for him. Like, and for him to just not yell at me for it, not blame me, not shame me, and just be
Mhm.
like, okay, what's his name?
Yeah.
That acceptance made me more accepting of him and
Yes.
his shenanigans,
Yes.
like, and also, of course, you know, just being trauma aware, trauma informed, you kind of, and it's not being a practitioner that's trauma aware or trauma informed, but
Mhm.
being curious about your own trauma, being
Yes.
curious about trauma in general gives you that compassionate kind of lens into other
Mhm.
people. When he says, like, oh, call me when you get home, that
Mhm.
used to feel like control before. And now I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, he's trying to control me because I'm far away. And I just
Mhm.
very, very simply tell him, I won't call you when I get home because I'm
Mhm.
going to get busy with Arby, or
Mhm.
I'm going to go to bed, or I want to relax with my husband. So no, I'm not going to
Mhm.
call you when you get home. I'll just send you an emoji.
Mhm.
Like, this is my capacity. I'm just going to
Yes.
do that. I don't need to report to
Beautiful.
you while I'm all the way in the States and you're in Jordan,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know?
Beautiful. Very well said. Yeah,
Yeah,
and look at the growth that it's inspired in you,
it
and
has.
you feeling more confident and grounded in yourself. And, I bet you have a whole different perspective on what happened to you now, right? Compared to when it was
Yeah, I'm
starting.
more accepting of what happened in the past. And so, okay,
Hmm.
again, the general question, what do father wounds look like? Just so that
Oh,
I
yes.
have vocabulary. It's
Right,
more for
going back
me.
to.
Yeah.
Hmm. So you can think of the father wound as being that counterpart to the mother wound,
Uh-huh.
right? So the two polarities in these different energies. And, fathers are really important. I mean, you look at what's happened in the States. I think it's like 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 families have a missing father,
Yeah.
right? And so there is something uh, important about the the gender of that energy as well.
Hmm.
Fathers, and even going back to masculine, the divine masculine, provides a different kind of structure to the family unit. And
Okay.
so when we are missing our father, we can feel like, well, when a father, for example, is controlling or is not present or leaves the family, well, we learn to internalize this idea that we can't depend on the masculine, right? Or the masculine never sticks around, or we're not able to be supported by the masculine. All of these notions and beliefs start to come up, and then they kind of trickle into, dad, quote unquote, daddy issues and
Yeah.
relationships, and issues with authority figure, all of that. So there's a lot going on there, even with the wounded masculine and the wounded
Yeah.
feminine. But really, it plays out to how it affects your relationship with the masculine in future relationships.
Absolutely. Oh my God, when you said that, I'm so glad I went back to this question because we've been married for 10 years and I feel like only in the past maybe 4 years I started I don't it's not trusting
Mm.
him but like relying on him. Because
Mm-hmm.
before that, I never relied on him because he might go away or
There you
or
go.
he's just
There
a
you
guy,
go.
why would I rely on him?
Right.
And the thing is, going back to when I got sick, I had to rely on him.
Yes. Yeah.
And that built up, that built up my trust in him or my the way that I see him. But also when we moved to Australia and back, I couldn't
Yeah.
do it all on my own. So
Yes.
I had
Yeah.
no other choice. And it's very sad that the way that I trust and rely on my husband now came from having no other choice. But I do trust him, but
Mm-hmm.
it came from that. It didn't
Yeah.
come intrinsically out of like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And also with authority figures, oh my God, don't even begin with authority figures in me. Like, I cannot with
Yeah.
authority figures still. But going back to money, when with a father wound and money, you see money as an authority figure
Yes. Be- exactly.
and you're scared
Exactly.
of it. Like, you're scared of a
Mm-hmm.
person,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Mhm. It's interesting you bring that up because I do find, and maybe I don't know if you've felt this too, a lot of people, they unconsciously associate money with masculinity.
Of course. Yeah. That's most of
Yeah.
my clients and me. It's for me because both my parents made money, but my dad was the naysayer. So my
Mm-hmm.
dad was the controlling. My mom was always very generous with her money. It
Mm-hmm.
was never her money. She made it for us, poor thing. But my dad was the money controller.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, money used to be masculine until I
Mm-hmm.
understood that it's not.
Yeah. It's speaks a lot to this society because, traditionally the goddess, the abundance has always been represented by female goddesses
Uh-huh.
in
Uh-huh.
almost all cultures, right? And
Yeah.
So in traditional Vedic Hinduism, like they're way back, one of the original meanings behind the divine masculine, divine feminine. So we have Shiva, the masculine, Shakti, the feminine. Shiva traditionally represented consciousness, and the feminine, Shakti, actually represented power.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah. And now it's now we think of masculinity as power, right? But in
Yeah.
a lot of traditional spiritual understandings, it was the woman, right? The giver of life, right? The source
That's
of
the
all
yeah.
creativity, the source of all abundance. That was what we thought of as power. And then you look outside and you see how we've treated Mother Earth, the giver of life on our planet, how she's been
And women.
exploited, and women, right? So, it kind of makes sense how we've maybe reattributed those qualities, even in our modern day culture. So, makes you think.
It does make you think. How does having a father wound affect um the son, the child
Mm,
that is male representing?
mm. You mean if a woman has a
No, no.
child, or if a
So
father
if
has?
so let's talk in traditional genders, like
Mhm.
you're a boy that has a father wound. How does that affect your
Mm.
relationships?
Oh, yes. Well, boys with father wounds, they do tend to, they may struggle with how they relate to same-sex relationships,
Mm,
right?
mhm,
So
mhm.
it can go either way depending on what the trauma was. So in my own clients, I've seen men who have no male friends, right? They only have female friends because that's what they're comfortable with, or men who they're very combative with male authority, right? And
Uh-huh.
there's this sort of ego standoff that can happen. So yeah, it can come through a little bit differently depending on the gender of that actual person. But
Mm.
where it tends to come out the most is when men themselves become fathers. And now,
Oh.
yeah, yeah, I've seen it many times. They go through some very deep initiations because they start to catch themselves. They catch bits and pieces of their own father start coming out in their parenting, and
Oh.
same with mothers, right? And you think, oh God, it's happening. Why am I doing this? And that tends to be the initiation to hopefully some deeper healing. And if they can heal that, then they can completely transform their relationship with their children. So it's very interesting.
It's very interesting. It reminded me of when I was in Jordan. It was Christmas. We were going to a mall. So it was me, my auntie, and her daughter, who is my cousin. And
Hmm.
my cousin has twins.
Hmm.
Okay. And one of the twins, we were on the escalator, and one of the twins ran off, and I called his name. And my auntie looks at me. She's like, I swear to God, I thought you were your mother. Just my tone of voice and
Oh,
my voice
yeah,
changed and the way I
yeah.
yelled, like she's like, she looked at me like, Nadia, Nadia. My mom's Nadia. Like,
Yeah,
Nadia,
yeah.
Nadia. I can't believe what I just heard.
Oh,
That
yeah,
was
some of
really
that
cute.
DNA came through.
Yeah, and now with Arby, the way I worry about her, it's
Mm,
just
mhm.
I exactly speak to her or like worry or care for
Yeah.
her like my mom would. Like I could see my mom coming through.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, what a wonderful conversation. Anything that you'd like to add
So
before
wonderful.
we end?
This was a remarkable conversation. It
Yes,
because I think this is, I don't know, third or fourth one, but you've gone through so much, and I've gone
and
through
you have.
the weird stuff I've gone through. So I feel like we're speaking, and we're meeting each other after all the lessons that we've
Yeah,
received. So it feels really good. It feels elevated. It feels so different from our past conversations. So
because
I'm
we're
very grateful.
different. We're
Yeah, we are.
different. We are
We're
different.
different. you've you're such an incredible role model to your clients and your listeners, and I guess now to my listeners. And yeah, the only thing I want to add is that um, you're on the right path, and you are so, so loved. Yeah,
Yeah.
beyond comprehension.
Right. That's something I keep telling Arby, when she's having a rough day. I just keep saying, you're so loved. You're so special. And there's a beautiful sentence that I read in a book called A Return to Love.
Mm.
No one is special and everybody is special. Right?
Exactly.
Like we're all so
Exactly.
special, but we're just all special in
Yeah.
and you know what I mean? It's just that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for everything. It was a remarkable episode, and if anybody has any questions, just write to us, and maybe we'll get together
Absolutely.
again and answer the questions, or we'll have a gaze into Gloria's eyes retreat.
I'll keep you
I
posted
don't know.
on
What
that.
will they find in my eyes? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. And yeah, if anyone who even feels some curiosity towards maybe there's some kind of mother father wound, most of us do. The first thing to do is just look within, right? And start asking the questions to things that you've always wanted to know,
Yeah. It's a
and you'll get
beautiful
there.
way of ending it because we always look without, huh? We look on Google, we look on ChatGPT, we look at Instagram, but look within first. There's
Yes.
nothing wrong with seeking help. Oh no,
Hmm.
there's nothing wrong. I don't know where I'd be without my therapist right now. But look within. There's
Yeah.
always, the answer is always within, and the help you get is the right help you get is always going
Yeah.
to point you back inside.
That's right. And follow your signs just like Nadine did, even when it's a difficult situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, try to listen for the deeper message.
It's easier sometimes to choose fear over love.
Absolutely.
It burns more calories to choose love over fear in certain situations, but it's
So
very
funny.
worth it.
You got it.
Yeah.
Thank you for this again.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for listening, and I will pop in all the information down in the show notes. Bye for now.
That's good. Bye for now.